So I'm just back from a 5-day photographic safari in Kenya. And of course I shot a lot of pictures and video, including quite a bit of film. But for this video, I'm going to show you the gear that I used. So the actual bag itself that I brought on this trip is the Mindshift Backlight 36 litre. And I actually bought this bag for this trip because I didn't have a bag capable of bringing some of my equipment, and you'll see that in a bit, onto a plane and flying it all the way to Kenya. So I ended up having to buy a brand new backpack to deal with that. Now the reason I picked this bag is because it is the largest backpack I could get that is still capable of being carried on a plane. So it is the maximum size allowed. And it also appeared to be, and I can confirm, is a very comfortable backpack for carrying a lot of very heavy lenses and a lot of weight around for multiple days at a time. I also know that this is a good choice because I saw 2 other people on photographic safaris using this exact bag, and I saw one person with the smaller version as well. So definitely a good choice out there. In the front pocket, my Surface tablet. I use a old Microsoft Surface tablet. I think this is like the Surface Pro 6. I can't remember, but I use this for backing up my data when I'm traveling, and I watch movies on it when I'm on the plane. The keyboard is not actually the proper Microsoft one. It's a third-party Bluetooth keyboard because the Microsoft one broke. So here we have a USB hub, USB 3, and a bunch of card readers. This is the Pro grade CF Express Type B card reader. This card reader is absolutely amazing. It's really fast. And then I also have some nice short USB cables that also are really fast and work properly. I made sure to buy nice high quality short cables because they're easy to travel with, and it's easy to set up in my hotel room or in most of the nights in my tent to make sure to copy all the files off the camera onto my SSDs so they don't get lost. Also in here we have batteries for the F6. It does get quite dusty when you're out on these safaris, but I was there during the short rain season, so it was more muddy than dusty, but you still need to keep your gear clean at night. I also have this, which is a small rig kind of toolkit thing. It has, screwdrivers and stuff for tightening tripod plates and Allen keys and things for working with your camera. Very useful. Everyone should have one of these in their bag. Pens for filling out like immigration forms, landing forms. Stylus thing for the Microsoft Surface. So here we have a pen with a bunch of gaff tape wrapped around it because gaff tape is very useful, and this means I don't have to bring a whole roll of it with me. Also when I'm flying, I have a bunch of things in here like my noise cancelling headphones, bag of film that's easy to access from when I'm at the airport to get a hand checked, and the usual sort of small things that you need. In the top of it we've got a little small pouch here that just sits on the top. This is where I store my passport. Very useful. But enough about that, let's actually talk about the meat and potatoes, the camera gear. So, taking a look inside my bag, this down here is just plastic camera covers in case it was raining really heavy. I didn't end up using them. I was sheltered most of the time. I didn't actually go out in the rain all that much. But up here we have something much more important, which is a pile of SSDs that I was using. So these are Samsung T5 and T7 SSDs, although I'm getting rid of these because I'm replacing them with these very, very nice Crucial X9 Pro SSDs. These are amazing. They're super fast and they're very compact, but they're also metal. However, the bottom of them is actually rubberized, so it doesn't slide off a table or anything on you. So it's a really, really nice USB-C, and this is a 4TB model. I plan to pick up another 1 or 2 of these for trip backups because they're goddamn amazing. So into the meat of the bag itself, we've got this thing here. This is a folding lens hood. So you strap this around your super telephoto lens and, well, it's a lens hood, but it's very lightweight and it folds down and it's great. This is the Roland Pro leaf camouflage one. I found it on AliExpress for like 50 quid. So on the topic of storage, I always bring an SD card wallet of some kind. This is the Peli one, and this is the official Peli one, and I'd highly recommend getting the good official Peli ones. Yes, they're a little bit more expensive than the cheaper ones, but these are really nice. CF Express cards, and we also have SD cards along with micro SDs and an adapter. Now the reason I really like these cases is because they're actually use a foam I used a cheap case before, and putting SD cards in and out of the rubber actually peeled the card apart and broke it on me. So these are much better because they have a soft kind of foam rather than rubber. Now you might ask, how on earth did I find a case like this with CF Express on one side and SD on the other? Well, the answer is I didn't. What I actually did was I bought a second Pelly case, which was just CF Express cards, and I just swapped the inserts over. So these are just glued in with double-sided tape, so very carefully I peeled out the foam on one and I combined them together to give me two multi-card cases rather than one CF Express and one SD. Now I have a case that holds both. These cases are also like waterproof and shock proof. They're very tough. In here also I have a cheap pair of K&F Concept binoculars. These are some cheap 10x binoculars that I bought for the trip. They're fairly decent. They let me spot some stuff far away. They're obviously not high quality professional ones. But so up here we've got all our batteries. This here is just full of ENEL15 batteries. I have a lot of these because all my cameras use them. So I bring a big stack of batteries with me. The last thing you want to have happen is when you've got some lying somewhere and you're filming and you don't want your battery to run out when you think it's about to do something. So we've got things like polarizers, 52mm, yellow filter for when I was shooting aerochrome. I brought a few ND filters because I thought I might need them for filming, but I ended up not using them because I was shooting 60 FPS footage through a polarizer, and that was actually enough to control the exposure, and I was able to stop down the lens quite a bit. In here we've got more filters, variable ND and a polarizer for the 70-200, along with the clear drop-in filter for the 400-2.8. So the main lens I used for this trip, and I photographed, let's say 80% of my stuff on, was this big boy, the 400mm f2.8 AFS Nikon G VR. And this lens was, to put it mildly, a goddamn amazing piece of kit to bring with me to Africa. Yes, it's big, yes, it's heavy, yes, it's expensive and awkward, but my God, having a 2.8 lens at that focal length was absolutely perfect for the whole trip. I got so much good pictures and footage on this, or at least I think it's good now. I'll look back at it in 5 years and go, oh God, how did I film something that bad? But hey, it worked, an absolute treat. You can actually see here in the rear of the lens, I have the polarizer in it. So this is the drop-in polarizer. This is the CPPL1, I think. Yeah, the CPL1L polarizer. And this is for like the 300-2.8, I believe, the 400-2.8, the 500-f4, and a bunch of other of these AFS lenses. And it has this little wheel where you can just adjust your polarization really easy through the lens. So this is an absolute beaut of a lens on the trip. I also brought a teleconverter. This is the TC14E version 3. This is the last 1.4 teleconverter Nikon made for the F-mount. It works absolutely lovely on the 400-2.8, and it turns it into about a 540 to 550mm f4 lens. There is a tiny bit of quality lost, as with all teleconverters, but this one is so good and the lens is so sharp that you can get away with that quality loss. Actually, one annoying thing with the teleconverter is make sure you keep the lens cap, because these require special lens caps. At least they're colored differently so you don't mix them up. Get out of the bag. So this lens is the 70-200 2.8 GVR version 2. This is the one with the horrible focus breathing. I've talked about this before. I picked this up very cheap secondhand in Tokyo, and this was a really nice lens to use. It never let me down during the trip, and it gave me some really nice images and great results. Well, that's really it. It's a 70-200. It does what it says on the tin. Next up we have the 24-120 f4S lens. This is the only Z-mount lens that I brought, and it did a great job. I didn't use it all that often, to be quite honest. I used it for some landscape photography. If you're photographing wildlife, you're going to use your big telephoto zooms, but anytime I'm traveling, I always bring a standard zoom lens, and I've never been let down by any of these. It's so useful. It's not optional. You have to have a standard zoom lens for traveling, and this one is just amazing to use. I did bring two more lenses as well, and these are kind of unusual. One of them is this 24mm 2.8 Prime, and the reason I brought this lens is because I had planned, and I did, shoot some aerochrome in the F6. And I only have a 52mm yellow filter, so I wanted to get some landscape aerochrome shots, and to do that I needed a landscape wide lens, like a 24mm, with a 52mm filter thread. So I brought this lens with me. It's compact and small enough that it didn't cause any problems. I also brought my Voigtlander 58mm f1.4 for when the light failed. I didn't actually use this lens very much. I took like 2 pictures on it. You know, once again, I wouldn't bring this lens. I only wanted the 52mm filter thread to get some, you know, standard images, you know, landscapes, you know, animals on the savannah kind of deal with trees in the background on aerochrome. If I was doing this again, I would just use my standard 24 to 120 zoom instead of bringing. So next time I won't bring these 2 lenses, and instead I'll bring a 2x teleconverter for the 400mm. So now we get on to the fun bit, the camera bodies. So of course the first body is the Z8. You know, I'm not going to go to Africa to photograph animals and not bring my new Z8. Like, this camera performed like magic. This thing worked absolutely flawlessly. I set it up to switch between photo and video real easy. I was shooting lots of 8K 60 raw video onto this and playing the footage back on my computer. It just looks insanely good. I do have the FTC version 2 on it. So one thing I really like about this camera is because it's electronic shutter only, it has a sensor shield, which is very important when you're out in the middle of nowhere. You want to change lenses without getting crap on your sensor, so you don't get any dust on it. I was able to, you know, swing this around on the back of the 400 inside the safari van with no issues, and it just worked like a treat. The card I used in the camera was this Sabrent 1TB CF Express card that I bought for this trip, and this was a great purchase because it let me shoot a shitload of 8K 60 footage. Of course, this channel is all about film photography, so of course I brought a film camera with me. And for this, I brought the F6, and it performed absolutely perfectly as well. Actually, I have half a roll of Ektachrome left in here. I did unload that for going to the airports, and I've reloaded it now, so I can go out and finish the roll soon. But yeah, this camera performed absolutely wonderfully for the entire trip. All I have to do now with this is develop all the film, download the metadata from this camera, because I recently got a Meta 35, tag all the information onto the photos, and it tracks GPS data, you know, all that sort of nonsense you have to do. But for this, you know, F6, I've talked about this a lot on the channel. It performed like an absolute dream out there in Africa photographing wildlife. Now, my last body was the backup digital body, and that was because I wanted to bring a backup camera in case the Z8 decided to yeet itself out of the van and into a hippo-filled river or something. So I had a choice between 2 bodies, the D850 or the full spectrum Z6. And for this trip, I actually went with the full spectrum Z6. Now, the D850 was the obvious choice if I just wanted a backup body for taking photos, but the full spectrum Z6 was able to take some specialty photos. You know, I was able to do a bit of infrared shooting here and there. You can still see I have the infrared in-body filter here on this Z6. So if I did need to use it as my backup body, I had this, which is the hot mirror filter. So this converts it back to being a regular camera. And then this filter is the IR Chrome Light, and this gives you an aerochrome-like image. And I did photograph some rhinos on this as they were walking away when I'd finished filming them on the Z8. One last piece of gear I want to show you before I forget is this, the DJI Pocket 3. And this thing is absolutely amazing. So if you don't know what the Osmo Pocket 3 is, it is essentially a drone camera on a gimbal on a stick you can hand hold. And because this is a mechanically stabilized camera, you can get some incredible shots with this. You can do walking shots, tracking shots, you can have the gimbal move and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think this is actually the perfect travel YouTube video camera. Now, I brought this to Africa and it let me get some really nice shots from inside the Jeep while we were driving along, some shots from kind of behind the camera, you know, driving to from the national parks, walking around shots, and this thing performed like a dream. The footage came out so stable because of this mechanical gimbal. it's goddamn amazing. In fact, it's so good, I didn't even bring the Z30. I only brought this. And then of course I've got some, you know, other small things, you know, a wrist strap that I had on to make sure the camera couldn't escape, which actually has some gaff tape stuck to it from when I used it to block the film viewing hole on the F6 when I shoot in aerochrome so it wouldn't leak IR light. And that's all the gear I brought to Africa on a 5-day photo safari. See you next time. Holy fuck, that wasn't supposed to happen.